Hi there! It is a really cold day today in Austin, Texas. And on cold days like this, I just love curling up with my sketchbook and a hot cup of cocoa. And today we're gonna get inspired by hot cocoa to make our own hot cocoa paintings. Get ready, here are the materials you're going to need. When we draw our cocoa mug, we want to think about the form of our mug first. Remember, a form is a 3D object. What form is our cocoa mug? That's right, it's a cylinder. It's a 3D object with a circular top and a circular bottom and flat sides. If we're going to draw a cylinder, we want to think about what shape to draw on the top first. So if I look straight down on my cocoa mug, I've got a circle. But if I'm looking at it at an angle, as if it's resting on a table, it doesn't look like a circle anymore. It looks like a shape called an ellipse, kind of like a squished circle. So that's the first shape that I'm going to draw on my paper. I want to think about how big my cocoa mug is going to be on my paper. It's my focal point, so I want it nice and big in the foreground. I'm going to make it about the size of my fist, or maybe even a little bit bigger. So kind of ball up your hand like a fist on your paper to visualize where your cocoa mug is going to go. My first line I'm going to draw will be a curved line, like a rainbow line, on top of where my fist is. That's going to be the top half of my ellipse. Now I'm going to draw the bottom half of my ellipse. It's the same line, just flipped over. Next, I'm going to draw the two sides, and I want to make sure the lines are about the same length. So vertical lines coming straight down, making sure that both of them are about the same length. Next, I'm going to draw another curved line here at the bottom that mimics the same curve of the ellipse here. Next, my cocoa mug needs a handle. So it kind of looks like the letter C, or maybe even kind of like an ear or half of a heart. So I'm going to draw my half of a heart shape over here, and then a smaller shape inside. And there's the handle for my cocoa mug. Next, I want to think about where my cocoa mug is in space. Right now, it's just kind of floating in the center of my page. But if I add a horizon line in the background, then it's going to really ground my cocoa mug, and it will look like it's actually resting on a table. So with a ruler or some other kind of straight edge, I'm going to draw a line, making sure that my line doesn't go in front of my cocoa mug. So I'm going to start at the edge of my cocoa mug and go out to the side. Start at the edge of my cocoa mug and go out to the edge of my paper. I've got a little window here through the handle of my cocoa mug. So I'm going to draw a little bit of the edge of that table there. So when I move my straight edge or my ruler away, I see that now my cocoa mug is somewhere. It's on a table. It's not just floating in space. Now I'm going to think about what's inside my cocoa mug. There's going to be some kind of liquid, either hot cocoa or tea or coffee. So I'm going to draw another curved line, and I want this curved line to mimic the top of the ellipse here. I want it to look the same as this line here. So I'm going to draw just a curved line that curves up and over. And you know what I like in my hot cocoa? Marshmallows. So I'm going to draw some marshmallows by drawing the round top of the marshmallow and two lines that come down, because you know marshmallows are kind of like little cylinders also. Here's another one over here, and the marshmallows are kind of melting into the hot cocoa, so I'm not going to draw the whole cylinder, just that ellipse shape and some lines that are coming down. And I'm going to end up leaving those white for the white of the marshmallows. Next, I'm going to add some black and white patterns on my cocoa mug. Remember, a pattern is a design that repeats over and over again. So I'm going to choose one pattern and draw it on my cocoa mug. And you know I love zigzags, so I'm going to draw some big zigzags on my cocoa mug. And I'm going to add a pattern here on the handle too. I'm going to go ahead and color in my pattern. I want to keep my cocoa mug black and white so that I'll have contrast with the colorful patterns that I'm going to put in my background. Remember to color neatly and use good craftsmanship, coloring back and forth in the same direction, just a little bit at a time. Next, my cocoa mug needs a little saucer to sit on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a big ellipse underneath it. So remember this shape here? It's like a squished circle. I'm going to draw that same squished circle all the way around my cocoa mug. So I'm going to start here and make my line go all the way around and wrap around to the back. Now, my saucer needs some patterns too. Since this is a really hot cup of cocoa, I'm going to add some steam rising from my cocoa mug. I'm going to start at the edge of my cocoa mug and draw a wavy line that comes up to the top. I'm going to do that right next to it again, another wavy line, and I'm going to keep going, adding some wavy lines, some of them close together, some of them far apart, to make some steam rising off of my hot cocoa. Next, I need to add some patterns here on my table and in the background. Patterns are designs that repeat over and over again. You can find lots of patterns on fabric, on your clothing, on your sheets, on your curtains, and in nature also. So I'm going to be really creative and really colorful with my patterns so that my black and white hot cocoa mug really stands out. Notice I made sure to make my patterns go behind the steam. I'm going to keep my steam white so it looks like there's really steam rising from my hot cocoa mug. Now that I'm finished drawing my patterns with crayon, I'm ready to paint. So I've got my messy mat, my artwork, my water cup, a variety of sizes of paintbrush, and my watercolor paint. And I'm going to carefully paint my hot cocoa, my table, and my wall, my background, back behind my hot cocoa mug. But I'm gonna leave my hot cocoa mug and my saucer black and white because I wanna have a lot of contrast and I wanna emphasize my hot cocoa mug. Emphasis means your eye is drawn to one particular part of the artwork first. I want to get my brush wet. I'm not going to tap it on my water cup because I need it wet to activate my paint. So my paint is pretty thirsty, so I'm definitely going to activate with a little bit more water, and then I can start painting. I want my paint pretty wet in order to glide over that crayon. If my brush isn't wet enough, it will sometimes cover up my crayon, and I want it to be pretty wet so it just glides on the surface of my painting. Remember, I'm not scrubbing the paint into the paper, I'm applying it to the surface of the paper. This is pretty detailed, so it's going to take me a while. Let's fast forward. So fun creating these hot cocoa mugs. I had a lot of fun being really creative with my patterns and making it look like my cocoa mug was three-dimensional, like I could just pick it up off the page and take a sip. I hope you had fun too, and remember, yours might look a little bit different than mine. You might have different patterns or use different colors. Maybe you have tea in your mug, or maybe a cup of coffee, who knows? When you're creating, the possibilities